Hey everyone, Sean Smith here with PPC AMS Accelerator, and today we have one of my Amazon PPC students, Jonathan Ross. And Jonathan, joined the program a while ago, and he's seen some good growth. So he was kind enough to hop on a call with us and share his story. So Jonathan, tell the people a little bit about you, and tell them your story, your journey, how you found me. What motivated you to work with me, and what your experience has been?
Sure thing. Sure. So I started about 5 years ago. I think it was September of 2015. Had read The 4 Hour Work Week and a few other
Hey,
books that really got the spark going. I was in corporate world, working, doing the 9 to 5 grind. I'm in Chicago, so the commute was out to the burbs. It was an hour each way, hour and 15 each way, plus, the long day. It just got to be just brutal. And thinking about that, doing that for the rest of my days until I reach some point of not having to, which would have been 50s, 60s, whatever, age that is, just wasn't doable for me. So I started the business on the side, went pretty deep just researching on a variety of different topics relative to selling online, looked at drop shipping, some other stuff in that vein. I didn't understand how people made that work. It seemed like really low margins, a ton of volume. I know people do make it work, but for me
yeah,
it was private label, and that just seemed to make the most sense. And so I launched my first product, like I said, September of 2015. It was one of those just simple, like Me Too type products where, I took a product and made it a different color, you know what I
yep,
mean? And that was it. And actually that it did well enough for me to say, this is a viable thing. So I kind of built that out a little bit. And then that line kind of hit, a maximum. I tried to extend it and learned a lot of different things in that process, had some products fail, moved into another line. So I actually had 3 total brands, one that I just got rid of this year. And then the first one that I'm describing right now, that was one that I started in 2015. That one, probably 4 of the products still are going even today. They sell 5 to 10 a day. I don't have to really do much with it. Um, and then launched our main brand, which is our biggest brand in like the house and home space, in roughly like 2017, 2018.
yep,
Leading up to that, I had tried a number of different things. I tried doing wholesale because I heard that model was interesting and people were making money doing that. Bought some courses, went down that road, had a really hard time with it, with the prep and making margin, and
yep.
just it was a really difficult process. So again, another thing that people have made work. I learned a lot though from that process, and I still like source in a way that some of the things that I learned from that. But anyway, so throughout this timeline, again, products succeeding, products failing, no real, I would say, strategy until I got to about the time when I launched this most recent brand and saw some success in terms of the products that I had chosen and how they were received by customers. And what I wanted to do was build out this line in a way that was probably more broad than it was deep. So having lots of different SKUs, lots of different variants of a single theme, you could think color or whatever it may be, which created a pretty large catalog. So instead of selling 100 units of one product a day, I was selling, 5 of 20 different products. And that was kind of my strategy, where I'm testing designs, seeing what works, and then scaling up, dropping, whatever it may be. Well, throughout that, one of the things that I realized is that, and especially in my space, probably the key component is how you're managing your advertising, how you're managing your pay-per-click. The amount that I was spending was ballooning as I added more products to the catalog. I was one of the people that would, one of the things that I think you mentioned, Sean, in one of your emails was the manual and auto
One
campaign.
auto, one manual, the
I was
class.
that guy. I was that guy for sure.
Dude, we had I did another interview yesterday, and
Yeah.
they got Miguel. He's in our program, and he said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing one auto, one manual.
Yeah. Well, it's tough. It's complex, and
It
you
is.
know, it's takes some time and effort to learn. And there wasn't really any sort of centralized any place where I had seen where it was explained really well. I mean, I pieced together disparate pieces of information from different, you know, random articles that people wrote.
Yep.
But for me, I was having a tough time putting the whole thing together. And so after about 6 months or so of 6 months, probably to a year of first trying to manage it myself, becoming really frustrated with the results and what I was doing, and then just trying to outsource it. I think a lot of people go that route. They're like, I don't know how to do this. It seems really hard. I don't want to spend time to learn it. So somebody else do it. Like I'm going to pay somebody to do it. And so I did that, and that was even more brutal because the people that I was using, I won't say who, but they were, they didn't really fully understand my business.
Yep.
They were choosing words, and their strategy just didn't really make sense for what I was doing. And again, cost ballooned, and they were giving me timelines of like, you know, months and months down the road. They're like, oh, this is just a testing period, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you know, how long are we going to go about it? It just didn't,
Dude,
over time, it didn't seem to make sense. So I was like, at a certain point,
it was real quick. Didn't
yeah,
mean to interrupt, but I just
no,
wanted
go
to
for it.
comment on that. The how you said they'll say like months to test. I was
Mm-hmm.
literally on a call this morning with another Amazon seller, and he was
Mm-hmm.
working with an organization, and they said the same thing. They were like,
Yep.
2 months to test. And I'm like, what? I'm like,
Yeah,
you don't need 2-3 months to test, man. I
I
mean,
know it.
seriously, like you only need a few days to be honest. like
Yeah.
it's the data. Like I feel like a lot of people take these extended time frames, but you don't need that, man. And yeah, that was just something. It's just funny you said that because I literally was on a call this morning with a guy who got someone told him the same thing. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what it is. I mean, the other thing too with that is what people I don't think realize about anything outsourcing is that yes, it's great to have somebody that is an expert in their field to handle whatever the thing is that you don't fully understand. And there's many, many places where that makes sense. However, what you have to understand with something like PPC or otherwise, those people, it's not their business, and they're not necessarily going to care nearly as much as they or as you would if you're in there watching money, you know, go out the door every single day. And so to that end, to that point, you know, when you're spending $500 a day, $1,000 a day, to have someone say, "Oh yeah, it'll be 2 months, and then we'll have some sort of, when their cycle is a week because they have 17 different accounts, and you know they're only looking at stuff every however many days or however many weeks." Eventually, you get to the point where it's like, okay, well, this is untenable for me. And eventually, you're gonna throw away a lot of money. So I was at that point, and eventually I just said like, okay, I have to buckle down and figure out what it is. Like
So
I need to really deep dive.
how'd you find me? How'd you find me? And what was the turning point for you to book a call and to hop on a call with me?
See, if you'd asked me this 2 years ago and I signed up, I would have an exact answer for you. But I want to say I don't remember exactly what it was. It was probably to book the actual call. I can tell you what you said during the call that did it for me. But the
Tell me
the
that. Tell me that.
but to book the, but I will. But to book the call, it was I think it was some advertising. Basically, just like extensive knowledge, probably like I don't know something that you said that seemed to make sense, resonate for
Yep.
me at that time. I don't really remember that, but the actual call, what did it for me. I don't even remember the specifics. I probably don't, maybe still don't know these numbers, but you were like, do you know this number? 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 I was like, no, 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 no. And then it was like, and shoot, like I've been using this other team, like, why didn't they say anything about this? And like, and then I started to think even further. It's like, well, man, I don't know really anything about how this relates to my overall spend, how it, even like the percentage of sales and like
Yep.
all these kind of numbers that, I just had no idea about. And again, to take that next step to have that be a central point of the business, I knew I needed to just go deeper. And so after the phone call, I felt like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, clearly. And what I really, really liked about this program specifically was that it was geared towards people who are basically trying to start like an agency or to, like the professionals in this field that are potentially taking on other clients, to do whatever it is. So like you have to be very, very good at it in order to do that. And so you have to know the ins and outs and blah, blah, blah. And so, and I think, I don't know if you gave like a early access to the course or something like that, but I liked how it was laid out. It was super in depth, like detail. Like that's really, there's so much that people talk about in these different training videos and courses that is just like high level explanation of whatever it is. And it's hard, like, of course you want the details and people are going to ask for it, but sometimes you don't even know what to ask. You know what I mean? You don't know how to ask the question because it's not necessarily explained even in that much detail. So just being able to see that it's not like one hour module on PPC. It's like, 37 different modules on whatever it may be. Like that was, a very good indicator that there was a lot to learn, and like this is where you can get it as long as you put in the time and effort. So yeah.
What type of results? Like, you love the course, you loved the way it was structured. You were like, hey, this is like the turning point when I asked you a bunch of questions and you were like, dude, what's
Yep.
going on here? So in terms of details, like what type of
Yeah.
results are you getting in terms of like, what was the before and after for PPC sales, ACoS, and even your business? Because we know that PPC can grow Amazon businesses, especially
Yeah.
when they're under optimized. I mean,
Absolutely.
I've been in situations where the amount of growth shocks me, and it goes to show how powerful it is. So give us a few details, before training and then during and after.
Yeah. So a couple things there. One, with before, it was, I was up in the, 45, 50, 60 probably range. Especially with the new campaigns, I had a really hard time trying to get some of those down.
Yep.
After, and part of one of the big things that I realized that I needed to do, that I took a lot of stock of in the beginning, was setting up the campaigns in a way that made it systematic and able to analyze and look at. Like I had no structure whatsoever with that.
Yep.
And so that was like the big step one. And once I had that in place and I understood kind of how to do each component, it really, like which I think morphed into my core way of, like, if I could explain it from a top down perspective, like how I saw it,
Yep.
the system, and just a very simplified version of your huge course is like, so you set it up in the right way so you can analyze it. So you're able to look at these different levers that you can potentially pull. But then for me, like the huge value is that the software adjusting the bids, that's huge. And so really all that I'm doing is I've got a VA who is pulling out the key, like harvesting, doing the keyword harvesting, like they're getting the keywords. So like, again, my approach is I'm taking the initial product research, the keywords that I'm identifying, and then running these campaigns, broad, phrase, exact, in the way that you've laid out, and auto, all of that, and then having the software adjust the bids up and down to get to a range where they need to be ACoS wise, and then my VA basically going in and extracting the keywords and replugging them back in so that it's an ever-growing spider web of keywords that you're now indexing for. And so,
Yep.
you launch a product, you might have 30 keywords that are your base level keywords that you're advertising. But by like month 3, if you're doing it right, you could have 300 or 3,000 even, you know what I mean? Depending on what it is. And that's amazing to me. And that's what's really, I think, driven the vast majority of the growth with these products, and being able to, again, adjust the bids at the software level, like, is incredible, because then you can say, I want it at 30% ACoS, it will adjust the bid to get to that point. And it's more nuanced than, say, some of these other tools that are making like broad cuts, like where you're going, okay, well, if it gets to 9 clicks and, we're no longer want to pay $1 for the bid, like it'll cut it to 20. And like, what you maybe didn't realize was that one keyword, even though it had a ton of sales, was driving like a huge percentage of your tacos or whatever it may be, your total ACoS, like the amount of sales that you're getting. So like when you cut that keyword, all of a sudden you drop your sales by a crazy amount, whatever. So anyways, the software helps to manage all of that. It makes it really, really simple. All I do is I'm going in, I have my VA do her part of it, and then I'm going in and running the software every 3 days, every 4 days. And that just keeps the ACoS exactly where I want it. And so I went from that 60% range down to, say, like 25 lifetime at this point. And I've spent,
so 45 to 60% ACoS, that was lifetime before, and then 25 is lifetime after.
Yeah. So I had pretty explosive growth in the last like 2 years. And so my lifetime on the previous products was probably in the like 40 range. But then for the new products, when I launched it 2 years ago before the program, it was probably closer to that 50 to 60 range.
Gotcha.
And so, so the lifetime for those products, we're probably in that 50 to 60 range. And that makes up the vast majority of my portfolio at this point.
Gotcha.
So, it was a huge, huge decrease. And also, I've gone from, 15 products to 150. And so like and all of that growth has been driven by having the pay-per-click dialed in exactly the way that I need it to be.
So you went from 15 SKUs to how many?
To about 150.
About 150 SKUs, and your ACoS went down.
Yeah, and the ACoS went down.
See, that's what I'm talking about, man. That's a profitable signal right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what to your point, one of the things I wanted to mention was, you said it's incredible that the pay-per-click piece of it, this advertising, is driving as much growth as it is. And that's so true. And I can tell you, and this is weird for this year, but granted, but this March and April, when things were going nuts with COVID and advertising was going crazy, what I did was started to cut advertising budget like across the board with a variety of different campaigns, and let that kind of play itself out for the course of like a month. And a third of the sales, you know what I mean? Like nothing, basically. I turned the spigot off, and what I eventually realized is that my advertising and at this point is driving, half my sales at this point. And like, if that's not dialed in, if that's not a profitable, whatever it may be, then if it's bringing in half of your whatever advertised sales, like it's bringing in whatever amount of organic sales as well, because you're getting.
See, that's the big one. That's the big one. 50% is attributed, but you got to think about what you can't measure, which is the organic visibility that you get from it. So it could be close to like 70, So 50. And then what are your average monthly ad sales and in total sales? What's the before and after on that in terms of, ad sales before the program, ad sales after, size of business before and after? I know it's a little complicated because you did launch more products. So I don't want people to think like, hey, his 15 products that he had before went from here to here. But like you said, the PPC really contributed to a lot of the growth, man. And 50% of your sales come from ads, which is absolutely, it's good, especially if it's profitable.
It is.
Some people might see that it's high, but we have 8-figure accounts in our program that half their sales come from PPC. And we've got some accounts only like 15, 20%. And so it's not black or white, man. It's what works for your business. If you're getting 50% of sales from PPC and you're growing and you're hitting your business's internal goals, then you don't need to listen to people saying like, what should be 15 to 20%. You got to use your metrics, and you can't use one metric either. People will, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll oversimplify and use one metric. Oh, your ACoS is 30%, bring it down to 25. But they don't ask, so like, what are your business's goals? Is it growing? Blah, blah, blah. You have to have like, this is an average, but 5 to 6 different metrics to look at to really make a strong, good decision, to get a little more of a holistic route. And so 50% is ad sales. Most people might be like, oh, that's way too much, but it's not, because your business is benefiting from it. And that's a big one.
Yeah. And that's entirely true. And I can't tell you how many times I have heard that your pay-per-click should not be over, 12% of your total spend versus, I've heard a number of metrics, and like the 50%, when I throw that out, that people are like, whoa, like that's way too high. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you, because if I turn it off, it's way low. You know what I mean? Like to your point, like everything is nuanced, right? Like, and you can't, that's how you know that somebody doesn't really understand a subject, is they ask you those black and white questions. How much do I need to start an Amazon business? I don't know. What kind of business do you want to
start? No, dude, you hit the nail on the head. And I feel like it's not even just like domain expertise. It's approaching it in a unique way. Like if I talk to you, right, let's say in my head, I believe that 15 to 20% of total sales should come from ads. And then you come to me and you tell me the size of your business. We're doing 3 million this year. And I'm like, okay, that's a great business. And then you go, 50% of my sales come from PPC. I won't say that's too much. I will say, interesting. You know what I mean? I might ask more questions about it. So, like what, how's it, how did that happen? Sounds like it's benefiting your business. I think that when I see outliers like that, I always default to asking more questions. Cause like when all the data supports this, and then you see a little outlier, I get curious and I start saying, this person's really successful and they did it completely different. Like, everyone kind of says this and they did it over here. I want to dig deeper, because that's where you grow, and that's where you can like have a strategic advantage. Because if other people aren't willing to go to 50% and you are, then you might be able to grow a lot faster than them,
Well, yeah. And to be honest with you, it's simply a numbers game. Like I have a finance background, and if I spend $1 and I make $4, like, and that fits with my margins, which it 100% does, like, it's a no-brainer. Like I want to feed as much money into that as I possibly can, because I'm making money on every single dollar that I'm spending. So like, have all of my money. I don't care if it's 75% of my sale. I mean, maybe I would, but it's as long as
crunch the numbers. If it was 75%, you look at the numbers and you'd be like, is this working for me? If it's not, we'll dial it down. If it is, let's keep it.
Yeah, exactly. And the number I was talking about before was, it's percentage of total sales. Like if you are spending, it's supposed to be under like, what I've heard in other groups is like under 11% or under 12%.
So it's your ad sales, or it's your ad spend divided by total sales, your TACoS.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. So, with that number, I always give people industry standards, what I've seen. But I never say, one is better than the other. I always say like, this is considered the standard. This is considered conservative. This is considered aggressive. But, wherever you land, if your business is working, just keep it rolling.
Yeah, exactly. So to that question also, we went from spending, I don't know, say like under 10,000 a month to now we're at say 30-ish, I think. And this time of year, I mean, next month we'll spend, we have a giftable type item, and it's items, and we'll do 5X, I think, in December. So we're anticipating $1 million month. So that'll be like 100 and some thousand probably in PPC spend, which is a lot. By the way, side tip for audience members, if you don't already have a 3X business card linked to your pay-per-click account when you're doing this, like get one.
Like Amex or something like that?
Either Amex or the Chase business card. There's two. Amex Gold gives you 3X on advertising. Chase Business Gold gives you 3x on advertising. I actually use both of them. And I mean, it's an extra, if we're spending that amount per month, 30, whatever, some thousand a month, it's an extra $1,000 back to us every month. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, the audience, the people who watch this, they can get a 3x ROI in an hour.
Right?
Well,
Exactly.
where else do you see those type of growth rates?
It's great. Yeah. So, I mean, it's another 3% back to you every time. So anywho, yeah, so we're spending about, say 30 a month and doing like a little over, say 100, 110, something like that.
In sales. What was the before on the sales? When you were spending 10K a month? Because, you know, if you're doing 30 and 100 a month, that's about a 30% ACoS, a little less. I'm assuming that when you were in 10K a month, your total PPC sales was about 20 because you were at 50% ACoS. Does that be?
Yeah. So if we were spending, yeah. So at some point we were spending, I think roughly like 10,000, I want to say. I don't remember what the mix was in terms of amount of sales being driven by pay-per-click at earlier stage, but we were spending, 10 to make 20 or 17 and a half type of thing.
Yep.
And it was lower. And so again, though, like part of the reason why also the pay-per-click is where it's at now, and it'll continue to go down, is that I've launched, 50 products, 60 products this year. And each time you are plugging it into a new go round. So like I'm starting out with a bid that's higher, and then as it's getting clicks and data and whatever, and I'm adjusting using the software, it's lowering. And then like when I add in a new keyword, the bid's high, and then it eventually gets lowered down by so it's always going to be, I'm extremely aggressive. I'm trying to push it as far as it can go.
Yep.
And so my ACoS is always going to be probably, 5% higher than it would be if it was optimized to as low as it could possibly be.
Yep.
But that's not my strategy right now. And eventually it gets back to that point once you've been going with the product for long enough. But I mean, a lot of my products are between 3 and 6 to 12 months old, and it just takes a while to get to the point where you're 100% optimized, and you know what I mean, you've got those key
reviews, ranking,
reviews, exactly. It's a different conversion rate once you have more reviews, and Amazon gives you the ranking juice and all that stuff.
Yeah, and your conversion rate should go up. ACoS should go down as you get reviews, as long as the ratings are comparable to the marketplace. And, we see that too. It just trails down over time, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So that's what we're doing. And I mean, also I'm sure other people are experiencing this as well. During December, when we have that enormous spike, November, December, the ACoS goes down as well. So like we'll go from doing say like 25, 30% down to like 15%.
During holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
We see that too. Conversion rates especially, and yours is giftable, right? That's what you're kind of saying. Yeah. So, yeah. Do you test, I'm curious, during holidays, do you test holiday keywords?
I don't. I probably should. I've never done it, but I probably should.
We, I was working with a 8-figure beauty brand, and I'm going to give you 2 kind of interesting case studies. So one was a beauty brand, and one of our top 5 search terms around the holiday season was like stocking stuffer, something, but it was like a very general keyword. And I was like blown away by how many sales we got from it. So what we usually do is when we do holiday keywords, we'll do the big holidays. So Christmas and Hanukkah probably as well. Yep. And then just broaden, variations of those, stocking stuffer, Christmas gifts, even Spanish, regalos de Navidad, stuff like that. Sense. And then just broaden phrase, and we'll do a little more conservative bids, and then just see how they pan out. We also, usually what we do is we'll have our clients put in there like perfect for. So like, for example, one client, what they'll do is on the last bullet point, they'll be like perfect for Christmas, Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day. That way those keywords are in the listing, like in that last bullet, and then they can get indexed for it. Makes it a little easier to convert. Cause I was working with one client, like where, Mother's Day, like gift for grandma was really good converting search.
Yeah.
Or those giftable stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have like see, this is really familiar to me because I remember either seeing this on the module or one of the modules.
Module. There's a
Like I
module.
remember last year I just wrote it down again.
Week 5, I believe. It's the keyword research week 5,
Okay. I'll
and
go
it
look it
just
up.
called holiday keyword research. And I just go over how I use concatenate and things like that to build out lists.
Yeah. I just want the actual like, yeah, cause I can do all that. I just, the words, like what you just mentioned, like,
Go to merchant words. That's what I do. Or go to like an engine that'll pump them out, and then just type in
mm,
like Christmas, holiday, and even like holiday. Um,
okay.
and I use like gift for like, dude. And honestly, like there are some evergreen gift keywords like boyfriend,
Sure.
gift for boyfriend, gift for mom,
Totally.
gift for dad. You
Yep.
can just run those, especially if it's super giftable. Those can be
Yeah.
run year round.
Absolutely.
Because for really giftable stuff, we'll literally have a gift campaign. And then another thing is, man, Spanish. And I
Yeah. I
was
need to do that. It's a
in
good
beauty.
call.
So I worked with a couple of beauty brands, and
Mm-hmm.
I was in situations where our number 3 top converting search term was a Spanish keyword. And then in another situation where out of like, I think it was 20 or 30 search terms, like 5 or 6 of those were Spanish ones. And so, it's just these little crevices that you're looking to fill in. Cause when you're at where you're at, it's all about incremental growth and long
Yeah.
tail stuff. It's not,
Yep.
dude, when your business is successful, you don't see these big swings like you did in the beginning. You're just
Right.
kind of looking for this like evergreen tick, 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 tick. And that it's like kind of like growing 1% every day. There's like some rule where you do that. That's what you're trying to
Yep.
do, just 1% every day. And then over 2 years, multiplied, it's just a huge, massive number. That's how I think of PPC. In the beginning, it's just like for launches, but over time, it's just like tick, tick. Sponsored brands video comes out. There we go, tick. Sponsored display product targeting, tick. And then it gives you this big advantage.
Yep, and that's exactly what we're doing back to the pay per click. It's with 150 SKUs, incrementally one sale a day more times that amount is
Yep.
enormous. It's a huge shift. You know what I mean? And so if we can hit on even just that one long tail keyword that maybe we were missing by using this particular approach and having the spider web kind of methodology
I love
where
that.
you're adding in the new keywords one after the other, like eventually you might get one where it's like, oh man, does that convert well? And it's like, that extra one sale. If you can find that one keyword for each of those products, like you
Dude,
just,
I used to work for a software company. They ended up going public. They're worth like billion or whatever. They're a huge
mm-hmm,
company now. And I was in
mm-hmm,
SEO. I was in their digital marketing department before they went public. They're a little smaller. And the one thing
sure,
I learned from them was, like I worked with these really wicked smart SEO guys. I was brand new to the game. And
mm-hmm,
these guys, obviously optimized real hard for those top volume keywords.
mm-hmm,
Our big ones were our competitors were trying to rank for Google. But I remember specifically talking to my boss, and he was just like, look for long tail, because it's like, if you can get one search, you can get 1,001 searches in a
yep,
month. How many people are going to put in the work and the time and the energy to optimize for that? Not many.
absolutely,
And that stuff
mm-hmm,
adds up, man. And
mm-hmm.
it's so tedious. It's so boring. And but
Very
that's what
hard,
we
yeah,
like. It's just pure. You just got to love tedium
yeah,
to want to do
yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's spreadsheets. I mean,
Spreadsheets, baby.
yeah, it's it. It's all
What it
there.
is,
Well,
dude.
and that's really, I was lucky because I came from you don't need it, but like I came from a background of like I did consulting, and I mean we're in spreadsheets all freaking day, and that was one of the things that I was like an initial challenge with the course is like when I went through it, I was like, God, there's a lot of stuff to do, like in terms of to get as much as you possibly can. I mean, you don't have to do all of it, but you should. And like,
Yep.
if you want it to be as optimized as humanly possible, like you have to go through and do it. So I have my VA go in I do it every 2 weeks, but go in and she spends, I mean, it's a 30-hour process for her to, and maybe somebody else could do it faster, but um, she goes in and does all of the different, formatting, pulling out the keywords, doing
Oh, well, you
everything.
got 150 SKUs, so that makes sense
Exactly. So
that
it's
it's a
big.
30-hour
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. It's big.
It's
And
big.
so yeah, that was one
That's
of
your
the.
advantage, man. That's your
Mhm.
advantage, right? That's how I think of it. Like when you see a big problem that takes forever, that's an advantage, in my opinion, as long as
Yeah.
it leads to a result that's scalable.
Yeah.
Because everybody else's headaches is someone else's advantage, That's kind of how I think of it. When I come across a problem, I'll be like, man, this is taking way longer. But then I'm like, dude, like there's probably someone else in the world in my market who's doing the same thing going, you know what, I want to stop here. And then I'm going,
Yeah.
you know what, if I just kind of go, if I spend another hour on it, I'm going to get past that person.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and also what's nice is if you have the course right there and if you've got a big business where you're maybe not going to be the person that's in there doing the pulling out keywords and creating the bulk files and all that stuff,
Yep.
you can use the videos, you know what I mean? Like that was my test for the VAs because it's
a big SOP, man.
It is.
The course is just a big SOP. You can just 100%. Literally like take a human and be like, just do this. And then just be like, give them the login and then just, dude, people don't realize it's you don't need to create your own SOPs. I
know
it saves you tons of hours, man. You can innovate on top of what I have, but like in the beginning or whatever, or, it sounds like you're just still using it and it's growing. Mm-hmm. So big SOP I use it for my team because I still manage a few accounts. I haven't taken on an account in years, but I just say, hey guys, go to this video and implement,
That's what it is. And I mean, that's really all I did. I just said, hey, watch these videos and then do I created a little like, do this, basically create the files for me for a week. And I just paid 6 people to try to go through it. And most of them didn't do it properly. It's straightforward in the video. Like it tells you how to, and then the one person that did was like, you win, you get to be the person who, you know what I mean, now does this. So she's amazing because but it's a great test for like paying attention to detail and making sure that you're, going to get what you're expecting every week and it's worth doing.
So I got something over. So you joined in October of 2018. Hold on. I'm going to get some numbers real quick, Jonathan, if that's cool. Because you sent me a message and I would just want to let people know about this because I think that the results speak pretty, see Jonathan, here we go, Ross. Here we go. So, you started, okay. So Jonathan, you joined back in 2018, you did 600K, 2019, 1.2 million. And then for 2020, you'll hit at least 3 million, right?
Yep.
And you've added on about almost 10x SKUs, probably more than that since joining the program.
Cool. Yeah. It's legitimately, I can't emphasize for my business specifically, how important having the PPC dialed in is. It's the number one thing to be your best ally or your worst enemy because Amazon spends, without concern about what's succeeding, what's not. They're going to spend your budget. And if you're not paying attention to it, if you don't have a system in place, it's going to be very difficult. It's just one of those things that if you want to scale your business, you have to have, those systems in place or you're going to have a tough time. And most people, even at the big, I'm in other mastermind groups where people are at the $1 million plus level that don't have a clue about pay-per-click. And that's one of the biggest complaints that I see over and over again. It's like, well, I don't know what to do. I've got somebody that's outsourced. And if you outsource it entirely, you know what I mean? Like you're reliant then on somebody to essentially run it for you. And what if they leave? What if they want, 10% more or whatever it may be. So it's better. I mean, you can still outsource it, but it's still really important, I think, to understand it yourself because
dude, we see pretty massive. So I've done hundreds of these phone strategy sessions and sales calls with people. And, I'll be talking to people who are doing crazy volume and they don't know anything.
I know it. It's incredible.
Dude, it goes to show how far you can go on an Amazon business without being super great. So imagine how much, I always tell them, imagine how much further you would be if you had PPC dialed in.
Incredible to think about.
On the one hand, I think it's awesome that someone can scale to that level without being even really great at PPC technically. But then I also think about how much money did they leave on the table, man? Dude, you might have left double.
Scary.
You might have left. I mean, dude, when PPC is dialed in, it can really push things. So they might be missing out on 25, 50, 100% growth potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how people the thing is for us, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but we've never really had a great launch strategy when it comes to like running, say for example, like the Facebook messengers and some of these other like rebate key and some of these other things that you can do to boost sales. All we're really doing is growing the product up and running like heavy PPC right from the beginning, knowing that eventually it's going to dial itself in. And it's just been a really easy way to systematically launch products without really having to worry about like, oh, is this against Amazon's terms of service? I don't know. Like, if I offer a rebate, am I going to get dinged? Like, because once you get to that certain level, it's like, I don't need to be dealing with like, I'm not getting an email from Amazon saying like you're doing something that you shouldn't be, because it's like the risk is way too
hedges
great.
risk. Yeah. So like you even tried like more like Facebook Messenger, all that stuff, but now you're just strictly PPC with launches.
I am, but that doesn't necessarily mean I don't want to say that's the best way to do it. But like for
it's
me,
the way you do it.
It's the way that I do it, and I just like we'll occasionally. I mean, we'll have months where we're launching, 5 to 10 products, and to like try to come up with a launch plan for each individual one, to give away so many units, to do whatever on Messenger, provide rebates, search, find, buy, all these different things that people are doing. I mean, it's possible, it's doable, but if you're a 1, 2, 3 person show, like it's tough. And this is just an easy. I mean, if you think about it, as long as your stuff is niched enough. I mean, if you're trying to go in and sell supplements, like you're gonna have a hard time, like with just pay-per-click.
So no, dude, we have
really.
Okay. So we have. I mean, he's in a pretty competitive market. His name. I just did a customer interview with him. His name Miguel Estrella, and Miguel Estrella. So we did a customer interview, and he comes to the coaching calls, and he went from 0 to 84K a month with a brand new supplements brand, and he had profitable launches, and he only used PPC, man. And he cracked the code. Yeah, for 4.5, and then we got to wrap this one up because I got another call in 3 minutes, if that's okay, Jonathan. But
yeah, of course.
Long story short, I thought the same thing, man. I was thinking supplements, there's no way. And his competitors have like, he even says like thousands more reviews, but he's doing it, man. And he's the first one that I kind of came across that was doing it with just kind of like, he's actually used to do a lot more than just PPC. But after he joined the program and started using our methods, he does other things with listing optimization and things like that. But, with his launches, he's really been focusing on, he just launched a new supplement and he did a profitable launch with it, with just PPC, 0 reviews. I know.
Good to know. It's getting the supplements.
Good to know. That's where the heavy hitters are, man. I'll tell you, like,
I know it.
You know it. Dude, all right, man. So I wish we could go longer, but Jonathan, thank you so much for the interview, man. I know that people will get value from it. And thank you guys for watching. Is there anything you want to, how can people reach you? Do, things like that?
Sure. I mean, I'm in the group. I don't know if this is going out to the group or if it's going out to broader.
It'll be public. So he's in the PPC Accelerator group.
Yeah. You can Facebook message me. My email is rossjohnd@gmail.com. You can email me there if you want.
That's it. Simple, baby. Yep. So that's Jonathan. And guys, hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Hope you got some value, and I will talk to you later.